Today it's going to be about building rapport. And what I want to focus on is building rapport in the first few seconds of the job interview. Why is this so important? I think you all could agree. Think about anything in your life, anything that you do, anything, sports, presentations, whatever it might be. When you get out of the gates fast, you feel a lot better. You feel more comfortable, more confident, like you got momentum, right? Any of you golfers out there, right? When you pipe that drive down the center of the fairway, it sets up the entire hole. Or maybe you par or birdie your first couple holes, you feel like the round's going to go well. Or that basketball jump shooter that knocks down a few shots early, right? You get the hot hand, or the quarterback who completes those first few or three passes, you get in kind of a rhythm. Well, it's the same kind of thing when you go into a job interview. Even as I give you these talks, and I know I've mentioned this a few times as I've done these talks. Most of you probably know I never rehearse my entire lesson to you. Sure, I know what I want to say. I know the 4 points I want to take you through, or 4 or 5 points I want to take you through today. But when I get into these talks, the only thing that I actually say a couple or 3 times is the intro. I want to get the intro right. I actually want to start on time, but I want to get the intro right. It sets me in a nice rhythm with you. I feel collected. I'm sure you feel like that when you get into a job interview. And why is this so important in the job interview? When you think about what it is that you are dealing with whenever you meet somebody, right? Let's be honest, people judge pretty quickly, right? Those first impressions, they're starting to formulate them before you even open your mouth, right? Are you smiling? Are you doing things like that? Do you appear warm and welcoming? Well, think about it. Their biases kick in. They majorly kick in a time-compressed interview. And if you can make them feel more warm and welcoming about you, about themselves, the dialogue's going to go better. Their biases are going to work in your favor. And they're going to have those little rose-colored glasses, so to speak. As they look at you, as they listen to you, you will start getting the benefit of the doubt instead of the detriment of the doubt. That's what I'm talking about. That's why this is so important. And the last thing I want to say before we run into the lesson is I was thinking about this. Actually, I was in the shower not too long ago, and I was just kind of thinking about you all, how much I missed you, this talk, and all that good stuff. And I was thinking about, when oh my goodness, my wife, I hope she sees this. We got these little gnats in the house, and they keep interrupting my live shows. But just think about how important this is. And I was thinking about this lesson, and what I love about it is so simple. It's very, very quick. And what I'm going to teach is very, very powerful. Very powerful. And I was trying to think in our relationship, in all the videos, in all the articles, in all the podcasts, in the webinars, in everything I've ever given, the speeches, the training programs, I don't think I've ever given you what I'm about to give you anything nearly as close, pound for pound, as valuable with as little effort. That's how simple these tips are going to be, but they are really, really going to pay dividends for your entire job interview with whomever you're meeting. So I'm stoked about that. Got my note cards. I want to take you through different scenarios as you go into the interview. And these are the 4 that I think will cover you completely. But let's talk about these. So what am I talking about? As you get into the interview, you want to make sure that you're getting off on the right foot. They're feeling good about you. So one thing that always makes people feel good is when you say something nice about them. But there has to be something connected and sincere about it. So this first one, so item number 1, I want to talk about the referral opening, and I want to talk about when you actually know somebody who knows the interviewer or the company, or at least can say something about their reputation. So let's take these 2. So what am I talking about specifically? Well, perhaps you networked your way in, or you got a reference or a referral, or somebody spoke highly about the person that you're going to interview with. If that's the case, open up with something like, hey, Sally, it's really great to meet you. John said so many nice things about you. I was really looking forward to this. That's it. Just something like that. When you actually have the luxury of somebody you know who knows the interviewer. This happens quite a bit. It actually happens quite a bit, but this is, I mean, that's the home run. That's the one where You can draw that connection. People generally feel good about that. People love to hear compliments about themselves. They do. Of course, it needs to be sincere, but you need to be able to do that. And if your friend, your colleague, whoever it was, referred you into the company but does not necessarily know the person you're interviewing with, you can also say something similar along those lines. Hey, Sally, I was really looking forward to meeting you. My friend John or Jerry or whoever it is said so many nice things about your company. I was really looking forward to talking with you and learning more about it. Just something like that. Very, very powerful. And if you don't have that kind of connection, and your friend or your colleague doesn't necessarily know the interviewer, you can, if they know of the interviewer, you can also say something along the lines of their reputation. I was really looking forward to meeting you. So-and-so said he heard so many nice things about you and the impact that you have inside this organization, says you got a great reputation, so I was really looking forward to meeting you. Something like that. But when you've got a referral, capitalize on it. True story, here you go. For many, many years, and still to this day, most of you know that I operate a search firm called Mile Walk. And we're an executive search firm. We get hired by businesses. They want us to go out and recruit top talent. We go do that. Before every single interview, we tell our job candidate, the seeker, to, when they say hello to the interviewer, if we know the interviewer, we tell them, you just make sure you say, I was really looking forward to meeting you. Andy said a lot of nice things. And that's true because I did say a lot of nice things. Or Andy said, you really do, he gets great word on you and the impact you're having in the organization. So they always get that advantage when they go in. Same kind of thing. A true story about a year and a half ago, a client of ours, chief operating officer, she was looking for a very senior sales person. She and her team were looking on their own. They'd interviewed a bunch of people. They really weren't finding anybody that they liked. She calls us up. This is common. This is how it happens, right? They try it on their own. Then they come to us. We showed them one person. Guy's name was Jason. Jason calls her for a phone screen just to introduce himself, gave him the little coaching, but he picks up the phone, gets engaged with her. When he's done, he calls me, says he has a great call. She's going to line him up to meet with the rest of the team. She and I debrief. First thing she says out of her mouth is, Andy, we're going to hire this guy. I knew that in the first 5 seconds, the way he picked up the phone. His energy, hello, his greeting, all that good stuff. She knew that quickly. Now, obviously, she had some things to compare it to. But this is what I'm talking about. You get it in your head. And so, yes, sure, of course, he went through the rest of the process. But what was that like when the chief operating officer says to everybody else, I love this guy. I think you're going to love him too. Right? So that's what I'm talking about. That kind of connection is important. But let's say you don't know somebody who knows somebody, right? Or they don't know the company. How about this one? Don't even ask me how many times I drew this card with this heart. It took me like 3 times just to get a legible heart. But I call this one the background. The long aspects and the short aspects. Let's talk about what this is. So let's say you don't have a referral. You don't know anybody who knows the interviewers, or you don't know anybody who knows the company, but you do know who it is you're going to be speaking with. Okay, so you got Susie Smith's background. You were able to look at it as you should. It's not stalking. As a matter of fact, it's actually bad form if you don't know anything about the interviewer when you very easily could have. So take a look at their background. What do you notice about it? Is there a pattern? Have they been with the company a long period of time? Have they been with the company a short period of time? Have they worked at some phenomenal companies? Whatever it might be, same kind of thing. You go in, hey, Susie, I was really looking forward to talking with you. Looks like you've done a lot of great things. I've seen you've been with the company for quite a while. I can't wait when I get a chance to ask you what's kept you here, but I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, that's one way. Maybe Sally's just been with the company for a very short period of time. She's been with the company a short period of time. Hey, I loved your background. I noticed you recently joined the company. When I get a chance, I can't wait to ask you what drew you to the company and what surprised you about being here. Really looking forward to this. Right? Something like that. The point here is you likely are going to know this, at least this much. And if not, I'm going to take you a rung or two down. But think about what is it that you can say as you're saying hello. Now we'll talk about all the body language stuff next week. But this is what I want to come out of your mouth as quickly as possible. Whether you're walking in the door and you're inside his or her office, or you're going to a panel interview, or you're sitting in a room and they're rotating the bodies in and out. Same kind of thing. You can get in a few seconds of that hello, makes all the difference in the world. And think about the messages that you're sending them, right? You're smiling, you're saying hello, you're shaking hands, you're getting that out of your mouth, and you're telling them, hey, I did my homework. I did my homework. So that's the background one. That's assuming you know the interviewer, right? Okay, how about this one? Maybe you don't know the interviewer's background. Maybe the interviewer didn't have a LinkedIn profile. Maybe you can't find him or her, whatever it might be. Maybe you just don't know a whole lot, but maybe at least you know the function of the person. So this one I like. What if you know the function? You're meeting with the CIO, you're meeting with the head of marketing, you're meeting with the VP of IT or a salesperson or whatever. That's what I'm talking about. You love the function. You want to learn about it or you aspire to be it. So here's what you could do. You come in and you don't know anything about me, and or the recruiter or whatever. Hey, I'm really interested in. So we're talking about people who you're interviewing with, who you likely are going to be working with. I really loved your background. I want to understand how you became the Chief Information Officer. I really want to learn more about that function because I aspire to be it one day. Or I'm greatly interested in talking with you about that. I've always been fascinated with that. So I'd love to learn a little bit about that at some point throughout the interview. Something like that, but you can reference what it is they do. You don't even need to know what their background is. But if this person is the VP of marketing, you know that they run the marketing department. You can take a look at what VPs of marketing do in general. And you can throw a few extra words in there if you want. But you make an association between them, their function, and your interest or aspiration in it. So that's another good one. Now, sometimes, I know some of you are out there going, Andy, when are you going to get to the cold ones? Well, what happens when you walk in the door and you don't know who you're speaking with? Or surprise, somebody comes in, says, hey, Susie couldn't make it. I'm Sally. I'm gonna interview you. Well, first thing you got to do is you got to get some info about that person. Hey, Sally, great to meet you. Just so I have some context, where do you fit into all this? Well, what department do you run? What projects do you work on? Whatever it is that you want to say to elicit a response regarding what he or she or they do. So maybe it's a panel interview. Maybe you know 3 of them, but you don't know 1 or 2 of them. Hey, but before we get started, can you just let me know how do you fit into the organization? That would help give me some context and an understanding of who you are. And that'll also help me just as I provide context about my background and working with you or questions that I might have for you. That's a very, very fair request. And then once you get some information about that person, then you can maybe use the function connection or something of that nature. So those are 4 really, really good ways to draw connection immediately. You do not need to ramble. It can be very, very quick. You can say it in 10 seconds. You really can. Now, I know some of you are probably going to say, well, hey, what about when it's just not going well? It's just not going well. They look like a sourpuss. The first thing I'm going to say in Andy-like fashion is, well, you know what? If they're a sourpuss and they're behaving that way towards you, I know everybody's entitled to a bad day, but if they go through the entire process like that, questions would be running through my head about whether you even want to work there, right? Organizations should put people in the interview process that they want to impress you. And you should be able to connect with those people. Now, if it's not going well while you're there and you don't know where this person fits in, perhaps, I would do everything I possibly can to have very, very positive and engaging body language. We're going to go through more of that in a session or 2. But just make sure you are smiling, you are being polite, you are being as engaging as you possibly can. I have gone into meetings with people who were like icebergs, and you are able to melt them if you keep at it. And at the end of the day, if you can't, then I think you need to ask yourself a different question. I think you got bigger worries. But just you get back what you give off, so hang in there. So let me just recap these really, really quickly. So you've got the referral. Perhaps you know somebody. You can make a reference to a contact or somebody or a group specifically. You loved their background, right? Anything that you can say about them and their background. People love that. What their function is and your interest level in learning it or aspiring to be it. Or if it's cold, you got to be a little bit more nimble, get some info, and then use some of those other tactics. So I hope that helps. I know it was quick. I know it was short, but this is something that you can prepare for in advance if you know who the interviewers are. And even if you don't, you can be ready to say, I need to find out who they are. And then my reaction needs to be, what is it that I'm going to say about that particular function? So I hope that serves you.